Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing amazing. If you remember, I did a video last week on portraying a flawed hero. That is assuming, of course, that you watched the video. If you didn't, well, I will have the link for it in the description, so maybe you go watch that and then come back first, or watch this first and then go back and watch that, or, well, do whatever you want anyway. I also promised that I would do a video on overcoming the flaws. So without further ado, let's get right down to it, shall we? Well, of course we shall. So the first flaw was a character who has hypercompetence masking moral apathy. The flaw here is that they get results but don't really care who gets hurt in the process. So how to overcome this? Let's say you have a character who forces empathy on them. You have someone who refuses to be just another case. One of the best ways to do this is to have the character be someone from the hero's personal life. Their child is the victim of a crime, perhaps kidnapped by the serial killer in the case he is working on. Now that there's someone he loves who's the victim, he gains an understanding of what the families go through. Or it could be just somebody who's really just refuses to be another case and is just a real ball breaker on them or anything along those lines. You could also have a moral mirror character. This could be someone who is not as skilled as your protagonist but has a stronger conscience. This person will show your character the error of their ways and what really matters. Also, you could have the consequences hit home. Another character who was a seemingly necessary casualty, and the hero ends up deeply regretting making this person a sacrifice. This works especially well if it's a family member or friend of the protagonist. The second character flaw was someone who is an idealist who enables a bad system. Their flaw is they believe in reform, but they enable injustice. And how do we overcome this? Well, let's say they are betrayed by the system. This could be someone above them who cooked up false evidence against them, or anything that could shatter the character's belief that loyalty was a two-way street. They could also witness grassroots success. This could be a chain starting from outside the system. This could be a protest that gains widespread support, or maybe a whistleblower against the system, or anything else along those lines. Or they could also get a moral ultimatum. They end up being forced to make a choice between complicity and sabotage, and they take a risk. This could tie into them being betrayed, or someone innocent suffering, and they won't stand for it any longer. Number 3. Your character could be emotionally honest but socially tone deaf, and the flaw is that they are brutally honest but they lack tact and alienate others. 3 ways to overcome this flaw are: they suffer consequences due to their honesty. This could be in the form of hurting someone they care about, or it could be they get a kind of smackdown, either literally or figuratively, from someone who didn't appreciate being called out. It could be a mentor or friend could show them that the delivery is often important, or sometimes even more so than the message. This could be done by flipping the brutal honesty back on them, and they're thinking, well, that wasn't a very nice thing to say or do, and then they realize, well, yeah, I've kind of been doing that all along myself, so maybe time to change. They could also learn the power of silence, and not just because they are a fan of Simon and Garfunkel or the disturbed version of The Sound of Silence. They finally learn that keeping their mouth shut is the best way to preserve a relationship. 4. They are addicted to control, not chaos. This person needs to control everything and everyone. They may not be a fun person to work with or hang out with. To get past this flaw, you have a system failure. A major situation spirals out of their control. Something like a mass casualty event that goes sideways, or even worse, down all the way the hill. And shows the character that control is an illusion. Someone earns their trust. A capable ally shows that they can succeed without the hero micromanaging everything. This could be especially powerful if your character is the male chauvinist type who believe women are weak and inferior, and the capable ally is a woman who shows him the truth. The third way to overcome this flaw could be they learn from failure. Despite all their best efforts, they make a mistake, but it didn't prove fatal to them or anyone else. They were able to learn from it and move on. You could also have an altruist with a savior complex, that character, and this flaw is the character helps people to feel needed or superior. You get past this flaw by they get rejected. Someone they save cuts them off when they see through the manipulation. This leads them to helping from the sidelines, over there somewhere, or maybe there or up there. They empower others to help themselves as opposed to being dependent on them or for fixing. They could also have forced helplessness. They get into a situation where they are unable to help someone. This forces them to accept limitations and possibly that someone who doesn't want to be saved can't be saved. Your character that was brilliant but spiritually adrift. Your character was a high performer, but they seem to lack a purpose or meaning for their life. To get this person back on the wagon, mentorship or legacy. They meet someone who believes in them, or even better, they can mentor someone else and this ignites their purpose. This could tie into the inciting incident. They could also get a personal project, something that reminds them of a life beyond productivity. Maybe. And they could also get a spiritual confrontation. This does not necessarily mean that a ghost or angel appeared before them and gave them purpose. That would be a deus ex machina, or however else you pronounce it, but your character could have a brush with death, or anything that shows them what was really important in their life. Your character who is unshakably loyal to the wrong person, well, the flaw here is that their loyalty is blinding and destructive. They eventually overcome this by they uncover the truth of that person, or someone shoves it in their face. Hard evidence of what the person they were loyal to was really like, or they betray your hero and which shatters the illusion like a brick smash through glass. Or they could have a third-party victim. Their loyalty causes harm to an innocent victim, which forces a moral reckoning of what your character has been doing. They bond with someone more deserving, and they see what healthy loyalty and relationships are really like. 8. The character who has a fear of being ordinary. Your character's insecurity drives risky, ego-fueled choices. Eventually they get past this by they achieve greatness and feel empty. They come out on top and win the day, but they still feel hollow inside, that there's an empty space in them that just is never being filled, and they wonder, was it all worth it? They could also get recognition from someone they respect. This is for who they are, not so much for what they do. And they learn to serve. They help someone else shine, which makes them feel more fulfilled than when they were the ones always coming out on top. Maybe. Your character who has weaponized humor. They crack jokes to deflect and hide vulnerabilities or dominate others. Some ways to play with this to get your character to overcome the flaws are they crack a joke that backfires spectacularly. Perhaps they crack an insensitive joke, and in today's cancel culture they lose everything and must now rebuild their lives. Someone sees through the joking and calls them out, forcing the character to re-evaluate what exactly it is they do. They let someone in past their shell, and they dropped the yak with one person, and a light bulb goes off in their head as it feels more real than anything else ever has. Your character who has chronic self-doubt, which masked as humility, they pretend to be modest but are really paralyzed with fear and indecision. And to go past this flaw, you have responsibility is forced on them. They get into a situation like an inciting incident or somewhere else in the story where they have no choice but to lead. Because no one else will, or everyone else is unable to. Maybe they're the adult in the situation and they are responsible for the lives of several children. Or everyone else is wounded while stranded on an island after a boat sinks. They could have small wins that build confidence. The old theory of how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Of course, it might take a few weeks to eat a whole elephant, but anyway, your character does small tasks that develop their ability to eventually win a big prize. You could have mentor belief. Your character meets a mentor who believes in them before they believe in themselves. This can shift perspective to eventually convince the character hero that they are capable of great things. And that's when they win the day at the climax of the story. So there you have it. How to help your hero overcome flaws, or at least some flaws anyway. This was not an exclusive list of flaws. Perhaps I will come up with more in the future, but I hope you liked the video and that it helps you with your writing. Have a great day, and have a great week. I will see you in 7 days. So long, everyone.